What's up, everyone? Elliot here from Entre Educator with another video to help educators make the leap, next step, transition into entrepreneurship, and make some more money for us. I have a super special guest today, and I'm really excited to introduce him. His name is Sydney. Sydney, can you introduce yourself?
Hey there. My name's Sydney. I teach on OutSchool and a few other platforms, and I'm a full-time college professor.
Awesome. So everyone, today the topic is how to make a flex class on OutSchool. Sydney, I know that you mentioned that you've been making some flex classes for a while. I was hoping you could tell us how you started and the story behind that.
So I've been teaching flex courses for about a year and a half on OutSchool, and my goal was to make classes that are suitable for students that are not in the same time zone, maybe are in a different country, and wouldn't be able to access my live classes. So my goal was to create high-quality content that's exactly the same. In other words, just like my college classes, my interest is that when you finish the class, you come away with something. Like there's something to do after the class ends. There's, interaction, there's interactivity. And the biggest frustration point that people have listing courses is that they're often sent back saying that more interaction is needed. There needs to be more communication between students or between the teacher and the students. And, I could watch the videos on the subjects I teach on YouTube. There has to be an extra value proposition that students are getting something extra out of it. And that extra part comes in the form of handouts, engagement, interaction, something that they can do, and something to build towards the next class. So I think that it's really important to scaffold each class and to have them connect to whatever the next subject is. So that's really, really important. And you never want students to be, left out or not understand what they're supposed to do. And that scaffolding part is really, really crucial. So my flex courses are weekly modules. Each module is over an hour of video with a slide deck, with handouts, and tons of other resources. So you could go through that module if you just want to watch the video and look at the slides in an hour. You could also spend the entire week working on it and just use that as the basis to build some amazing homework and to keep on going. I have homework that's due every week in every class. And my goal is answering emails as quickly as I get them. So as of right this moment, I have got 6,000 emails approximately from students, and my goal is to get back to them within, like my official goal is within a day, my actual goal is within 5 minutes. So if you write me, I'll get back to you immediately. And I do that a lot of different ways. So if it's a common question, I have a whole bunch of templates that I've set up that I can answer questions, like for example, what course should I take next? I have an email already built that tells you all the courses with all the links. So there's like, since my courses are all in a funnel, beginner courses, intermediate courses, advanced courses, I want students to be able to progress from one level to the next and understand what the next steps are. Um, but I think it's also important to give students like high quality feedback that's not just a template. So I might write something small, like usually 1 or 2 or 3 lines, or I'll record a custom video using Screencast-O-Matic. The reason why I chose them, and I looked at a bunch of different options, is that they have a one-click uploading button. So you record a few-minute video, you press send, and it already copies the link of that video, and you can just post it into the email. I found that in a 2-minute video, if I typed out that content, it would take me 20 minutes. And you could explain something using a picture a lot easier than you can describing the concepts. So instead of like I often say rewriting the textbook, it's much better to send somebody a 2-minute video, even a 30-second video, and say, here's the problem, this is how we solve it, here you go. And then they're welcome to get back to me every day as much as they like. I teach long flex courses, so my classes start at 4 weeks, but most of them are 8 to 12 weeks. I even have a 20-week course. And if you want to message me every single day, multiple times a day for 4 months, that's okay. The goal is that every single interaction email module is moving us one step further and building it on, right? Like, I think it's all about gaining the experience in the class and then building up from there.
That was huge. I had so many questions, and then you sort of just continuously answered them.
That's okay.
So you mentioned that most of the classes are between 4 and 6 weeks, but you have longer ones too. For any
Yep.
teacher who's starting out who wants to create their first flex class, is there some like time that you recommend that you have noticed that you can do shorter or longer ones, but maybe best for the first time for flex class?
So, there's no good answer to that. The real answer is that in order to figure out what your population wants, you need to build an audience. And the audience of students that I have don't choose between taking a live class and taking a flex class. I have a couple thousand students who only take flex classes and they're only interested in the topics that I'm teaching. So you really have to figure out like what's their comfort level, what kind of courses they want. So for example, I start off with introductory courses that are 4, 6, and 8 weeks. So that's the entry point to taking the first kind of course. Some of them go up to 12 weeks. Then from there, I have courses that are in the intermediate level. They're all 6 weeks. The more complicated ones, like at the advanced level, tend to be 6 to 8 weeks. And I found that that's what people are interested in because when you're doing semester long planning, parents will sign up a student for the next semester. And again, like it's changed because when we originally started a year ago, we were looking at more homeschooling and building a semester like course that students would take for 4 months. That's the reason why they're 3 or 4 months long.
Gotcha.
Um, and deciding how the material goes according to that schedule is really important. Now I've been doing off semester schedules, so I've been scheduling classes every 2 weeks or a month, and it really comes down to understanding like who's your audience, what's their interest in the course, what ages are you teaching, and for your population, what's the best option. And I think it's really important to build up that understanding because there are many different possibilities and configurations. You can make 4 different class sizes with different amount of hours, with different amount, like there's so many different versions. I think that the most important thing is that every module you produce is high quality. That will make people come back, and that customer service is amazing.
And the next one that I had was about customer service. So you mentioned that you get back to them right away, and that seems really important. And as soon as you said that, I felt like if I was a parent or if I was a child taking the course, that would be something that would be really beneficial. And have you gotten that kind of feedback to you
Yeah,
from other
tons.
parents?
Tons. I have 1,100 positive feedbacks, and all of them talk about the same thing. Gets back to me quickly, answers the questions, help you move forward in the course.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
I do have a few students who basically take this one hour class a week as a 70-hour class week, right? So they're sitting there like working on their homework for the entire week, but that's not typical. Typically, you have some students that are really engaged, follow along every week and submit. Some students just never check in at all. But I would
Mhm.
say the vast majority are interested. And the reason why they're contacting you is to check their homework or they're not sure how to proceed. And I know if it was me, if I called customer support because I didn't know what to do next, and they said, we'll get back to you in a week,
Right.
I would not be very happy, right? So I think these are time critical, time sensitive things. And it really comes down to like being really efficient at answering emails, understanding what the problem is, communication, and just trying to connect.
You also just mentioned homework, and so as someone who has never created flex classes, I want to know more about the homework. You mentioned that there's worksheets, so is it sort of like they watch the video and then they're tasked with some worksheets? Is that what you do? Is there anything else?
So it depends. There's a lot of configurations. One of the confusing things is that the default response is create learner to learner interaction by using one of many different technological platforms. I don't use any of them. My goal is not to just push students into another technology. It's to figure out like for this one module, what's the most effective homework? Like in other words, what's the most effective thing that they can do? So every module by default has a video that's around an hour long. It has questions that the students can work on or answer. It has handouts and PowerPoint. So, and I prepare it just like I would a college lecture. So I come in with a particular topic, I walk the students through the topic in the lecture, and then the homework is something that they can build, scaffold, or add to the next week. Sometimes we do 2 or 3 week modules where in that 12-week course, 3 of them are like, let's build the first version of the homework. Then next week we'll come back and build the second level of the homework, and then we'll build it even further. So I think being really clear about what expectations are just save time in the future. And what happens is when I start my class, my 12-week class, I start getting a whole bunch of emails saying like, I don't understand what to do in week 3, or, can you explain this particular concept? It seems like it's a good idea to make a 2-minute video on that concept and add it
Right.
to the module. So the next time I copy that flex course, it's even better. So my basic flex course, my introductory 12-week course has probably been through 1,000 iterations. I keep on adding things to really streamline it and make it clear. And if I notice a lot of questions are coming up, try to address those in advance inside of the module. So I send out an instruction module that has every instruction, also includes a 2-minute video,
Hmm.
showing them how to do it, what to do, how to get,
Right.
connected, what materials are we going to do, how does the course work. And just by doing those short videos, yes, it takes more prep time to put them together, but ultimately it makes everything run more smoothly and everybody feels like they're part of the course and integrated and they're not just alone. Now, it's funny that we're talking about flex courses because in university, I hated taking online courses.
Right.
Like, they I'm a little older, so they would mail you a gigantic textbook and then just say, you're on your own, see you for the finals, like write the
Right.
papers. And I would write papers not knowing who the professor was, what they want from me, and what even page to focus on. There's a 200-page book. I have to read the entire thing and write an essay. So I want students to feel like they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing and to connect in the material in a way that scaffolds into the following week, not just here's the book, see you in 12 weeks, right?
Right.
So to do
What?
that, it does take a high quality and experience with a lot of time put into it.
Right. One word that you mentioned was funnel, and I think that that's like a really interesting topic. So, for example, let's just take me. I really like to teach math, and in my profession, I've taught elementary school. So, if I was going to kind of like create a math course, one thing that I might do is sort of make a bigger topic, and then sort of like just keep narrowing it down into different segments with math, if that was the topic that I wanted to.
So
And
what
I was
I
wondering if you could talk
recommend
a little bit about that.
what I recommend is think about, first of all, how do your popular in-person classes relate to your flex classes? So for example, let's say we have a camp on math. So we're going to do 4 classes, and each class is an hour long. And in those 4 classes, we're going to talk about different math things in each class. So class number 1 is going to be addition, multiplication, division, etc. And then we're going to make a flex class called, more fun math, that's
Right.
going to be about exponents or other cool things that you could do that they may not have learned about in the first 4 modules. But it's a logical progression to get there. And all my classes I'll label like fun with exponents, beginner level.
Mm,
Then when the student finishes that class and they say, okay, what else do you have? There's a next class beyond that, and so on. So it's always clear what they're able to do. Now, some students say, I did the beginner level class. I learned about exponents. That was okay, but I want to do more beginner level class. I want to do algebra 1 and not jump to calculus. And in that case, there's an option for that too. I have multiple classes on the same level, but ultimately students are going through a funnel that, I have close to 400 modules, like 400 weekly modules that are developed, and I have a pipeline to develop hundreds more. So, I have a schedule that looks into the next 20 or 30 classes. I break it down by how many modules do I have to put together and what I have to do. And I'm only capable of doing 2 to 3 modules a day. So I have about a year of modules to develop going into the future, but ultimately that will mean I'll end up with like 30 or 40 more flex courses, and they all have to tie together. Some of them are more academic, some of them are more fun. And I try to mix it up because depending on what time of year it is, some people are looking for more academic, longer term courses and some for less. But
right.
all of my classes, like one of my most popular classes, is a one time beginner class. It would be like, addition. And then when that person emails me back and says, well, that was a great class, what's the next option? I'm like, well, I don't teach subtraction 1 hour class, but I do have this 12-week flex course that you can take. That's the next continuation. So by funneling students from one type of course into another, or one smaller unit into a larger unit, it means that they're able to progress across many different courses.
Hmm. Okay, so it sounds like you have a lot of flex classes going on, and that's awesome. And then you just mentioned that you're also still teaching live classes. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering, Sydney, what's the balance? If you said, I mean, do you have 50% live right now and 50% flex, or what's the proportion that you have going
The,
on?
the funny thing is that when I started about a year ago, I was doing 80% in person, 20% flex. Now I'm doing 80% flex and 20% in person. So it just depends, and I'm making more money now than I was before.
Cool. Okay. And
So
so speaking of that, so like like I said, I'm an elementary school teacher. On average, elementary school teachers are making anywhere between 4 and 5 thousand a month. Is this something using OutSchool, whether it's teaching flex, live, or a combination of both, that you could like pass that rate? Is that realistic from someone who's been on OutSchool for a while?
Well, I'll tell you, the honest truth is that there's a triangle between the number of learners that want to take classes, the number of teachers that you're competing with, and the subjects that you're teaching. So, be a math teacher, there's a lot of math teachers. I would say math less so. There's a lot of English teachers.
Okay.
And if you get the weekly email that shows you how many new classes are in each category, you'll notice that if you list a class the same way that you do in school, there's literally tens of thousands of other teachers who are doing the exact same thing that you are. They're using the same books and they have the same degree.
Right.
So if you were to make a book on a class on Jane Eyre, right? You would not be the first person. I'm guessing there's 100 other people with the same idea.
Right.
But if you were to do something different and interesting that nobody else has done and create a niche of people who are interested in that particular topic, right? English literature and Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Right.
There has to be a subpopulation that meets those two criteria.
Oh, that's
That's something
interesting.
that's something that will definitely bring people in, and that could be built into a massive a massive area of courses that have low competition. Ultimately, what you're trying to do is find classes that respond to your audience, and really understanding what your audience wants is critical. Now, we talked about flex courses versus in person. They don't compete with each other necessarily, but is it realistic that I would sign up for 12-part calculus course, have not really being comfortable with math? Of course not.
Right.
But would I sign up for amazing things that you could do with math from the, the world, right? That would be an interesting course. I could go for an hour or several hours and do it over a couple of weeks. I meet you, I like you, and I think that you're a great teacher. I'm much more amenable to taking one of your many courses that are flex because it creates this pathway that makes sense, right?
Right.
It's very difficult to get somebody to sign up for a course that nobody else is taking. It's very easy to get somebody to sign up for a course that 12 other people are taking.
So niche down, find something that other people aren't doing. Okay, cool. There's
And
another word that you,
it
what's that?
doesn't just have, it doesn't have to be one thing, right? So like you could do a cooking class and then find out that works and do a whole bunch of cooking classes. You
Right.
can do a math class and find out that works and do a whole bunch of those, or you could do math about cooking and join your audiences together.
Yeah,
So
that's
I've had
awesome.
students request courses that are outside of my degree background. That's okay. Like I'll find a new way to integrate that material, and because of that, build a whole series of new courses that respond to a totally different audience I didn't know existed before.
Sydney, one of the keywords that I keep hearing you say is quality, right? So I would love to hear what your videos look like. Are they, PPT presentations with a loom, not a loom, or do you have like a green screen behind you? Like what does it look like
So
normally?
I try to mix it up. I use a lot of videos in Zoom. I also use Camtasia to edit videos, and I really go carefully through them to make sure that they're all good. I do some PowerPoint presentations. I also do just talking like we're doing now, depending on what it is.
Mm,
One of my students left me a feedback recently saying, like, best teacher ever, totally fantastic, drones on with very boring stuff nobody cares about, but still a fantastic teacher.
nice.
I thought that was very funny. Like, it just depends. My goal is that whatever we're covering that week, we present it in the best possible way. So I might show them things. Now, it's very important that if you're hosting your videos on YouTube and adding links into the classroom, which I highly recommend, because that way, if there's a problem and you have that video copied in 40 Flex courses, you could change it
Mm,
in one place instead of having to change it everywhere, right?
right.
Um, if you do that, it's really important not to have any copyrighted material like audio or video inside your video, because
Mm,
then it can get taken down or the audio can get taken off and then you have a big problem, right?
right.
So I'll tell you from the downside, what could go wrong, what is the downside of Flex? And the biggest problem that can happen, for that matter, with all of your classes, is a cascade failure, where one small thing goes wrong and suddenly you have 10,000 emails, 10,000 angry customers, everybody's upset, they don't know what's going on, your YouTube account gets canceled, it takes off every single video you have on every course. So, to prevent against that, it's good to have a backup plan, save backups of your files, but more importantly, really understand what you're doing going into it to make sure that, whether it's hosting videos or editing, the content is interesting and engaging, it's high quality, and it's basically what students come to expect. So I try to be like cheery and upbeat in my videos. I try to get the point across of what we're doing to make it short and succinct, hopefully,
Right.
and to really connect the user that when they leave that video, whatever it is, they feel like there's a next step, right? So there always has to be continuity into the future, and it has to have a connection activity back. So I use a jumpstart model to teach. I try to write all my course descriptions using Bloom's taxonomy. So I'm trying to bring those educational principles into each module so students really understand what they're learning, what they're supposed to know, how they can go about doing that, and making clear steps to doing it. So I'd like to do like a connection activity, introduce a topic, we do some examples, we move on to the next thing. And even though it's a flex class and I'm not talking to real people, it works the exact same way as it would in my other classes. You go too quickly, nobody can follow. If you go too slowly, somebody's going to get bored and leave. So
Mhm,
you really have to balance the pace with the content delivery and all those other pieces. I find that the technical aspects of putting it together don't matter as much, right?
right.
Like nobody's expecting it to be perfect. And I often thought, like, I've done courses on other platforms, and I've often thought, like, let's say I wanted to do a Udemy style course for Outschool. Like, I could like book a studio and then go there and do like a super professional whatever, but that's not where they're watching it. Like, they're watching it because, like, the number one thing that's ever happened in any of my videos that has the most user interest is my cat. Like, she sits next to me, and then the students see her, and then they write me about her, they ask her about her. I probably got 500 comments about my cat. So
Wow.
Sometimes your cat is actually what makes the class interesting, and the students are sitting there the next week waiting to see if the cat shows up,
Okay.
right?
That is
So
so funny. All right.
it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be interesting and engaging and produced in a way that really gets the material across. Parents are not paying you for entertainment. They're paying you so their kids can learn something that has some kind of value, right? And that's really what it comes down to. Like, to get somebody to sign up to the course, now they've already started introducing learner videos versus parent videos. I don't think there's much of a difference from my perspective.
Mhm.
I'm trying to produce something awesome that everybody likes, right? And that you could understand from the course description, from the videos, that this is something you'd want to take and it has some kind of value to move you to the next level.
And how about titles, thumbnails, description? Any key pieces of insight that you can give for us?
This is probably not going to make me very popular, but the students that I teach and the parents of those students are very familiar with TPR and TPR like teaching, and anything that has to do with that world is heavily rejected and criticized.
Okay.
And if you do that, you are not going to be successful. It's
Okay.
my bottom line. And I know that that's unpopular to some people, but if you make it seem too babyish or you make it seem like you're not teaching students who are actually interested in learning your topic, but rather you're, I don't know, you're dumbing it down for them, then it's a
Hmm.
serious problem. And I'm not saying that it can't be fun and interesting. It totally can be, right? But using like, first of all, I think that there's the bigger issue here is that when it comes to thumbnails or even course design, there's a lot of issues. Like, for example, you build an amazing course and your course is about calculus, but you're deciding to put your thumbnail has an emoji of your face because it seems cool and people are doing that. And in your video, you're like totally over the top with the TPR stuff. People are going to be turned off by that, first of all. And second of all, on the platform recently, the Bitmoji people, I don't know who it is, Apple or something, started complaining, and a whole bunch of courses got taken down because of copyright issues. So
Huh.
you're setting yourself up to build this amazing course and get thousands of followers, but your core topic or the picture that you're using is a copyright violation. Inevitably, the course will get canceled. So
Hmm.
by building it up, you're just leading to your future demise, right? The more popular it gets, the more likely you're going to get a cease and desist letter.
Huh.
So, building courses on Roblox or Among Us or whatever the things are, right? Seem like they could be a good idea and they're popular, and quite often they are for a while, but then they get really popular and canceled, right?
Gotcha.
So if you want to make something super successful that has longevity, you got to make it up yourself. And unfortunately, it's a lot easier to do Harry Potter and whatever, and then people like that and they'll take it, but it's not sustainable, right? So,
Hmm.
like I had courses canceled with Harry Potter. I had courses canceled with other things too. Even using a picture of Lego in your thumbnail can now get your course canceled.
Wow.
So, you know,
Really
you
good
have
to
to be
know.
you have to be super aware of those things. And if I look at it from the parent's perspective, and I think the most valuable thing you can do is that if you have a friend who has kids of that target demographic age, ask them like, "What do you think of this course? Does this thumbnail make sense to you? Is this a good idea?" So I get all my pictures from Pixabay or Unsplash,
Hmm.
then I'll customize them and add other pictures. Outschool doesn't want you to put words inside the picture because they can't use that for Facebook advertising.
Hmm.
So it's important to make a picture that's approachable and interesting, and most importantly, connects with what you're teaching.
Hmm.
So it makes sense. If you have a smiling kid on there who's, doing something, maybe that's a good thing. I
Right.
don't know. So you have
Right.
to think about like, how does it connect to your audience? How do the people who have previously taken your courses connect with that idea?
Any other last insight?
I think the most important thing is consistency. So if you're going to list courses in a flex course, they need to be delivered every single week at the exact same time. Another really good advice is that when you start a new module in a flex course, the most important thing is at the very top, the first thing you put into the text is the module number. So you write like module 1, module 2, module 3, because then in a month from now, when you're copying it into another course, you're not going to be able to figure out which one was which course if they're not all numbered, right? This way, okay, I'm going to go back to my course 2 months ago. I'll grab module 1 and move that forward to module 1 for the next time. It takes about 70 clicks to move forward a course of 12 modules, to give you an idea. So there is a lot of work that goes into doing it. One of the reasons why I hired somebody to help me do that. But just building the flex course in the beginning comes down to a lot of consistency, really clear understanding, and trying to make a really, really good user experience. So I think that if you could put together high quality content, which I know is like bandied about, but that's really what it is, it means that not only learners are going to get something out of this course, but they'll come back to you for the next course.
Well, Sydney, again, I cannot tell you thank you so much. Again, I mean, yeah, from niching down to thinking of the funnel. I mean, and I didn't understand how quickly you would actually get to the responses. So that's really nice to
I'll tell
know.
you,
And
I'll tell you my biggest pet peeve though,
okay,
and this is actually in your form, which was passive income. There's no such thing,
right.
right?
Well, that's what I thought
Would
originally,
you
but I can tell now that it's not.
would you like to go to McDonald's and get a passive income hamburger? No, that doesn't make any sense, right? Like that probably wouldn't taste very good. It might be still be frozen. Like, and there are people who do that, who build courses and don't have any engagement, interactivity, get back to students, etc. And like I said, how would you feel if you're in a course that the professor never talked to you? Probably not great. You
Right,
certainly wouldn't sign up for another course, right?
right.
So, it really comes down to providing excellent customer service. And if that means you have to make a decision of refunding somebody, despite the fact that they're wrong and you're right, the customer is always right. Make them happy and it's going to work out okay, right?
Mm,
And I'm telling you that, like, from thousands of students, I think I taught 6,000 students this year on Flex. And from those 6,000 students, they're all happy. And the reason why they're happy is because I'm not trying to force them into doing anything. I'm trying to provide a good educational experience. And hopefully they're into it and it all works out great. And I find that for students who would never have approached my topic from the beginning ever, and they have that easy entrance into it. So there's less pressure. They don't have to worry about it. Maybe they took a class in person and loved it. Maybe they took a small Flex course and they thought that it was great. There's always another step. And by providing that next step, it literally gives you a curriculum that could span years of things that you can take.
hmm.
So if you can build that into somebody's life as they're going through it, it adds a lot of value. And that's really what you have to think about. Like, at the end of it, what's the big ecosystem of courses that you can offer going to be like? Right? So what I say is, as far as money goes, content, students, do the best job you can do. Everything else is going to work out okay.
Sydney, again, thank you so much. I think we can
Pleasure.
end it right there. All right,
Thank you.
take care. I'll see you next time.
Thank you.